Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Sara Bareilles' debut 2004 album, Careful Confessions. It's pretty good. I like the vibe and the sound of it a lot. It's got a very well put together sort of shtick. So this is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist, 5 out of 11, so just one under half. This album is pretty good. And it's improved by the fact that most of the best tracks here were re-recorded for her next album, 2007's Little Voice. So it's kind of a perfect debut, I guess, where the best tracks here were then made better later. Plus, I really think the versions on this album are still pretty good. They all have a more acoustic, slower sound, and it works pretty well here. The live tracks at the end, the 4 tracks there that are all labeled live, are pretty well done. I didn't really notice they were live when I originally listened to this album a while ago. The overall flow is pretty nice. The good tracks are pretty scattered throughout the album. And it alternates pretty well between slow and fast. Despite being a generally slower sound, the album actually has a decent amount of sort of more upbeat or mid-speed tracks. They're just still pretty acoustic, and they manage to fit the vibe well. It's pretty impressive what this album does in terms of multiple songs that sound different and yet still maintain a consistent sound. Now, there were no singles released before the album, and I don't think any of these tracks made it onto the radio. Some of them might have made it onto the radio when they were released on Little Voice, but yeah, none of them off of here. My favorite song is probably Red, track number 10, one of the live tracks. It's upbeat, but it's still slower, and it fits the sort of tone of the album really well. Fairy Tale is also really good. But I think I like Red better. I think that's my favorite here. Now, I rank this album 4th out of all of Sara Bareilles' 7 albums. So right in the middle, there's 3 above it, 3 below it. However, of the 3 below, 2 of them are sort of soundtrack albums. So it's kind of difficult to compare, which is kind of why they're at the bottom. In general, this album is good, but almost for the next decade after that, it was all improvements. It was all up from here. Right, this is not an album. The albums that came out later have a lot more good songs on them, even though this one is pretty good, has good songs, and has got a good vibe. The only one that falls below her debut is Admits the Chaos 2019, which I don't like very much. It kind of, the songs all sound the same on that one, so it's not great. Additionally, this album gets my top spot from 2004, favorite album from 2004, beating out Duran Duran's Astronaut and the Half-Life 2 soundtrack. Confessions is definitely better than the Half-Life 2 soundtrack, and I think it's got a more consistent sound than Astronaut. That album is kind of decent, but Careful Confessions is actually good. It's got, tracks on it that are good, and it comes together really well. Astronaut just doesn't have a ton of bad things. It's mostly okay. Next up is Avril Lavigne's 2004 album, Under My Skin, her second album. It'll be interesting to see if it can take the top spot here, because if this album is really great, I could see it taking it. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.